Right, so good evening and welcome to Kingdom Sash. And tonight we're going to talk about something that is very profound. In the last few weeks, we've been talking about the Christian life and what qualifies one to be a Christian. And today, I want to look at what does a real Christian really look like. What does a real Christian really look like? That's what we want to examine today. And I'll be looking at it primarily focused on Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12 will be the scripture that I'm going to rely on to be able to talk about this topic that is, in my view, very profound. You see, we live in a world that we're looking for something that is real, something that is genuine, authenticity, the real thing. And to find something that is so real or authentic, I think it's more of a challenge now. It's more of a challenge now. It was like something that Adeboye says many years ago. He said, if you talk about fake, then it means that must be genuine. Now, if there is genuine, there is also fake. Then how? So you must be in a position to identify what is genuine before you can know something is fake. I want to believe the police, particularly the counterfeit experts, they were well trained to be able to identify genuine money and counterfeit money. And I don't remember that those days, when you take some currency and you put it in a mercury light, you will see all manners of things inside that currency. And that gives a clear indication that this one is genuine. When you put fake, then you will not be able to see all those marks and watermarks inside the currency. So that's the kind of world that we live now. And we live in a world that is a world of imitation, because counterfeit is an imitation of the originality, the genuine one. So when you look at what is genuine, what makes a particular thing to be genuine, you have to depend on a number of factors. Then you have to look at the characteristics, you look at the formation, you look at what it takes to make that individual to be genuine. Now, in today's church, or perhaps in today's Christian faith, this is not just an assumption, or this is not a general statement, or a blanket statement. It is something that is, we all do. When I say we all do, I mean most Christians or most church goers do agree that there is a lot of fraud, a lot of deception amongst many believers today. And sometimes it is easy to be cynical about it, if not maybe perhaps skeptical as well. But whether you are skeptical or you are cynical, whichever of the two that you fall into, you discover that the reason why many are having issues with today's church was due to this particular concept of finding or looking for a church that is authentic. That's it, authentic. In other words, you're looking for something that is genuine. And in the process, you want to take out those that are fake. And you also find this during the ministry of Jesus Christ and extended all the way to the disciples too. Because it was the time that the disciple came to Jesus and they said to him, we find other people doing similar things that you were doing, in your name and all that. And we search their identity, and we discovered that these guys are not members of this ministry. And they were doing exactly the same thing that we're doing, They complained that to Jesus. And I want to believe that many of us on this platform will know the answer that Jesus gave. And you see, what provoked the disciples to be asking or challenging was the fact that they discovered that these guys are not really part of them. So they want to be sure that they're not dealing with fake. Or that the people they're dealing with, they are genuine. Authenticity is the key issue. So when you put all that together in today's world, you begin to see what is called manipulation. You see deception. You see deceit. And thereafter, that now makes people, because you hear miracle, wonders, all over the places that is happening in a particular ministry, or maybe some is arranged, maybe some uses some diabolical means, whatever it is. People get attracted to those things. Along the line, you see, men become, kind of people they're looking for, miracles, wonders, and great things that they feel is happening at that particular place. But whether those are good enough to qualify that particular organization, as a church, is a different issue. It's a different issue. So I'm just trying to ginger us into the background, because the church has been influenced by the things that goes on in the world. And you discover that in the days of the early disciples, they influenced the world. It's not the world that influenced them. But we now have that a great number of things that is happening in the church that people tend to think that this church is growing, is anointed. As I've said to people, if you have millions crowd, does not necessarily mean it's a church. Because somebody like Davido, Wizkid, they can draw the same crowd. They can draw the same crowd, if not more crowd, and they entertain people, So, and when you look at it, does that really qualify those who attend that sort of place as a Christian, or edify them, in a way that you will say, these people, by the definition that we look at, in the last couple of weeks, that in the Christian life, by their attitude, by their speech, and by their character. So those three things were not there. Would they qualify by the early disciples or people around during the days of the early disciples to describe them as Christian? But we look at the world we live in now. We live in a world that philosophy, philosophical teachings. We live in a world of business ethics, business management. And I did a bit of ethics, but if you look at ethics in itself, you cannot talk about ethics without talking about the Bible. The ethics, the business ethics, the medical ethics, the legal ethics, the financial ethics, every single one of them take their root from the scripture. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. So if anybody is talking about ethics, then whether in whatever form or career that you're talking about, the source of that ethics is still the Bible. and they still go. So instead of the church to influence the world, so what belongs to the church, what the church, put into play, what the church, maybe let me put it this way, that what the church is recognized to possess, that is now what the impact of the church now begin to change the concepts, the approach, the theology of the church by being the one influencing the church. And you now discover that a number of men and women of God in ministry have been engulfed into believing that you need to provide all these services. Because those are the things that makes the church to be a church, or that makes one to be a Christian. You see, we could see that there are people in the church filled with all manners of ideology, all manners of principles, and there are even those that have joined the church, being baptized, they attend regularly, even they give money occasionally, but still you can see in their character, in their behavior, in their relationship, in what they do, the way they relate, the way they talk, that these sort of people are already lost. They are already lost because there is no fruit of the Spirit in what they do, in what they say, how they relate, how they connect with people. So the situation today is so desperate because we now struggle sometimes as a Christian to really define who we are. To really define who we are. And it doesn't matter what operates in your church. The fact of the matter remains that you are a member of the universal church. And when you go out there, they will ask you, are you a Christian? And the answer will be yes. But now, as a Christian, what happened in one particular locality, you may be called upon to respond to it. Just like every one of us that will respond to issues that will basically not involve, we're not connected. Even that happens in cities that we've never been to. The reason why we had to respond was mainly because you are a Christian. You are a Christian. And that's why I'm looking today. What does a real Christian really look like? What does it really look like? Just like the way I use the analysis of fake currency, that to see a genuine currency, it needs to have some characteristics. And there are some that you cannot see with your naked eye. There's some fake currency that you can easily know that this one is fake because the paper quality may not be a good one. And there are also different grades of fake currency. You can see the very top paper currency, fake currency, that they use a top quality paper. But there are some watermarks inside that you do not need, you cannot see with a naked eye. So you need the things like mercury to be able to see it. So the same way in the Christian faith too, that sometimes you need the discerning spirit to be able to know, to be able to identify, whether this individual, you understand, is real or is genuine or is fake. Because you see, sometimes people will say, when I see fake, I easily know. But how do you know? Do you have the characteristic? Do you have the enablement? Do you have what it takes to be able to identify? Because when the disciple went to Jesus and complained that we saw people doing this, doing that, and Jesus responded, they are expecting Jesus to quickly chastise them, to condemn them, to, maybe to begin to curse them. And you know what the answer is, because I'm talking to people that are serious Christians on this platform now. So Jesus' response was different. And you can also see our own response too, in a way that, for you to identify who and who is real or not real, or what makes some individual to be real, it boils down to the discerning spirit. And the discerning spirit doesn't come by flesh. you understand? It doesn't come by what? By flesh. The discerning spirit doesn't come by educational qualification. The discerning spirit doesn't come by philosophy of men or ideas or intellectual acumen. So, Evangelist Aki, what do you say? Okay, you see, the philosophy of men cannot give you what it takes to have the understanding, the interpretation. That means to identify what is real, what is fake. You see, and I see that the situation the church is so desperate that we now struggle to find answers in a way to respond to that fundamental questions. And the question is, what does a real Christian look like? I know if any one of us is thrown that question, we have 1,001 answer to respond. What does a real Christian look like? If you go back and look at our teachings or our studies in the last few weeks about the Christian life, and if our life is not mirror in that perspective, you see, there is still a room, a chance for us to make a change. Because one good thing I love about the Christian faith, about Jesus, is the fact that, you see, we are still a work in progress. It can take you from where you are, reform, reshape, renew, transform you, and take you to the next level. Otherwise, somebody like Paul, will have been judged differently. But somebody like Paul I don't see how Paul would have been qualified in today's world. Where you want to appoint, that if you now want to appoint him as a pastor, and you look at the pedigree, you understand? You see, when I apply, to CIC to register the Christ Royal as a member, and they started asking me all manners of questions. They asked for my marriage certificate, and I do not have one. You understand? You're asking me for something of a 38